Thanks for joining me again this week. This is Pride Month, and during Pride Month, it's important to remember that it is as much a celebration as a reminder of the years it took to make the progress we've made. People who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, queer, transgender, or intersex are also our friends, our co-workers, our neighbors, and sometimes family members. And we need to make sure we never lose sight of that, especially now when so many people are working to strip them of their rights and their humanity. When I was on the Tacoma Park City Council years ago, we became one of the first municipalities in the country to pass a law creating a domestic partnership registry, because hospitals would not allow a same-sex partner to visit a patient because they didn't recognize them as having a relationship, i.e. a marriage. The registry required that our hospital grant visitation rights to gay partners the same way they would to spouses or families. That may not seem radical today, but at the time it was, and it mattered, and we should not pull back from that. Society's made a lot of progress in a short time, and we will not go backwards, which seems to be what the Trump administration would like us to do. But what we're seeing now is deeply troubling. The Trump administration is attacking the LGBTQ+ communities through executive orders, state-level bans on gender-affirming care, and now through plans to defund specialized mental health services for LGBTQ youth, including eliminating the LGBTQ+ hotline from the national 988 crisis line, as if these people don't have the same needs as the rest of us. That hotline alone takes over 2,000 calls a day. These are policies with life and death consequences. We know that LGBTQ+ youth face higher risks of suicide. Cutting off support in the middle of a mental health crisis is both cruel and dangerous. That's why it's so important for allies to show up, especially those of us who aren't part of the LGBTQ+ community. Much of the progress we've seen over the past few decades has happened because more people, including straight people and even religious institutions that once rejected the LGBTQ+ community, have chosen tolerance, acceptance, and inclusion. I've been proud to stand as an ally and be visible in our support even when it was unpopular, even when it was illegal to be gay. I never understood how some people are incapable of seeing them as human beings with all the same hopes and dreams that we have. They face challenges in society over their gender identity that no one else has to face, all for something that is personal and has no impact on the rest of us. Whether you're standing in a line, studying in school, or working on your job, the identity of the person next to you, which affects you not one iota, should not be the defining factor by which you judge someone. It's illogical, irrational, and it's wrong. And I'm proud that Montgomery County continues to stand up, not just with words, but with actions. This week, the Strathmore made sure that the World Pride Festival concert featuring International Pride Orchestra and the Gay Men's Chorus of Washington, D.C. had a welcoming stage when they needed one. Recently, we were able to move the MoCo Pride Center into office space at Bethesda Chevy Chase Regional Services Center. At a time when LGBTQ+ organizations across the country are losing federal support and struggling to stay afloat, this kind of local support is critical. These organizations are lifelines, and we're going to keep doing everything we can to support them, especially in the face of such poor treatment at the hands of the federal government.
The criminalization of parents with transgender children. During April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and the Trump administration described the sinister threat of gender ideology as one of the most prevalent forms of child abuse facing the country today. And so I think it's really important that as a county, we support our LGBTQ folks, in particular our transgender youth and our transgender parents. I had a conversation with a parent on Sunday at the MCPS Pride Community Day that she was afraid for her child. She explained to her child, who was assigned male at birth, that sometimes he would have to be a boy in order to keep him safe.
June is also Immigrant Heritage Month. Montgomery County is one of the most ethnically and religiously diverse places in the country. That diversity didn't happen by accident. It's the result of centuries of people coming here from all over the world to build a life, raise a family, in a country that offered them the hope of a better life that didn't exist in the countries they came from. The notable exception to that, and I can't go on without mentioning it, were the human beings brought from Africa who came here unwillingly to be slaves. and the Native Americans who were here before us and who had their land stolen and had their freedoms erased. Today, more than 1/3 of our residents are foreign-born, and over 162 languages are spoken in our schools. That includes immigrants from El Salvador, Ethiopia, India, China, the Philippines, Korea, South Korea, Guatemala, Ukraine, Ireland, basically all over the world. When I was a kid in the 60s, only 5% of county residents were immigrants. When we talk about immigrant heritage, we're not just talking about Latino, Asian, or African communities. Immigrant roots run deep across all backgrounds, including white residents. His families came here from Germany, Ireland, Italy, Poland, England, France, Russia, basically from all over Europe, and dominated the pool of immigrants initially. As late as 1960, 75% of all Americans who were foreign-born came from Europe. This country has always depended on immigrants. Unless you're 100% Native American, you're as much an immigrant as anybody else in this nation. That's just an historical fact. And that's why it's so frustrating and frankly dishonest that the Trump administration is framing and generalizing all immigrants as public safety threats and essentially criminalizing immigration. Throughout our history, new immigrant groups of white Europeans faced discrimination and acts of hate. It was not uncommon in American cities to find communities segregated by their country of origin, Italian, Greek, Jewish, and so on. They were not only segregated, but the communities fought each other and experienced the same anti-immigrant sentiment that we see today from other nationalities and the larger domestic Protestant groups that dominated at the time. Even Catholics were one of those singled out by hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan, and Jewish people have experienced anti-Semitism since coming here. Over time, the battles between European communities lessened as newer generations more fully integrated into America. Immigrants are now again being scapegoated, being blamed for all of society's problems. This isn't new. It's the same song they sang before. This is a sad tactic that's been repeated throughout our history, and repeating it again with a different group of immigrants, though now the majority aren't white. But we learned to live with each other before, and we can do that again. It actually needs to happen. Last week, the federal government put Montgomery County on its so-called sanctuary jurisdiction list. Let me be clear, I've said this before. We are not violating any federal law. We cooperate with ICE in cases involving serious and violent crimes. We have no more interest in having dangerous criminals roaming the street than anybody else has. That's been our policy, and we've followed it consistently, even before me during the previous executive's tenure. But we don't believe in helping to criminalize people just because they're undocumented. And we're not going to turn our police into immigration agents. That's not their job. Their job is to keep our community safe, and deflecting them from that job in order to look for illegal immigrants is not going to make our community any safer. While we cannot interfere with federal immigration enforcement actions, we also won't be silent about the repercussions it's having in our county. This is all a political stunt designed to scare people, divide communities, and blame immigrants for problems they didn't create. The stunt is damaging because it makes victims less likely to report crimes, makes workers more vulnerable to exploitation, and creates fear in families who are just trying to live their lives. I've heard anecdotally from several departments across the county that undocumented residents are increasingly staying away from community events, and including not accessing food, healthcare, and other essential services. I understand their fear. Many immigrants don't distinguish between federal, state, and local government. And given what's happening nationally, I can't blame them for being cautious. But we need people to know they can trust Montgomery County government. We're not here to target anyone. We're here to serve. We can't afford to have children miss school or families avoid medical care and food assistance out of fear. We hope to reach the individuals and families who have understandably gone into hiding with this message. You are welcome here. For immigrant-related information and services, residents can visit the Gilchrist Immigrant Resource Center at montgomerycountymd.gov/Gilchrist or its Wheaton, East County, or Gaithersburg locations. Immigrants in Montgomery County make up over 40% of our workforce, including nearly 70% of the construction industry, 65% of transportation and warehousing, and large shares of our healthcare, hospitality, and retail sectors. They are more than 10% of our STEM workforce and 7% of all business owners. In 2019 alone, immigrant households in our county had $562 million in spending power, paid over $219 million in taxes. They're helping build our economy just like immigrant communities have always done. And we're proud to stand with them, not just this month, but every day. This week, we officially opened the new 6th District Police Station in Gaithersburg, which also serves Montgomery Village and surrounding communities. The station will support police operations in a growing part of the county. It will also house the Central Traffic Unit, investigative staff, and a larger evidence facility to improve services. But there's something more important here. The building includes a community room that's open and available to local groups for their use. For anyone who's ever tried to organize in this county, one of the biggest hurdles has always been finding a space to meet. I know that personally from experience. When residents and officers have more opportunities to interact in everyday settings, it helps build relationships that go beyond enforcement. The station also reflects our long-term goals around sustainability. It's a net zero energy facility that uses solar power, electrification, and microgrid technologies to reduce emissions and keep the building running even during a power outage. This is one of the first public safety buildings in Maryland and one of the first in the country designed to meet this level of performance. I want to thank our Department of General Services for the work on this project. 2 years ago, there was nothing here. Today, we've got a modern, sustainable facility that improves public service and lowers our environmental impact. We also got some good news this week. Bethesda was ranked number 21 in the country by U.S. News & World Report as one of the best places to live, and number 2 in Maryland. Bethesda has a lot going for it: low unemployment, strong household incomes, and access to transit that most places don't have. Nearly 20% of residents commute by transit compared to about 4% nationally. It's a walkable, connected place with good schools, jobs, and services. But being one of the best places to live also makes it one of the hardest places to keep affordable. That's something we've been working to address. One of the most important examples is the work we're doing to preserve affordable housing at their Battery Lane apartments in conjunction with HOC. That project protected more than 200 existing affordable units right in the heart of Bethesda. But I want to remind people that a previous council and Park and Planning Board approved plans that would actually have reduced the number of affordable units while increasing the total number of apartments that were supposed to go there. They actually were displacing people. This was a way to get more luxury apartments built. It was a way to ignore our most pressing deficit, which is in affordable housing. In this case, we were able to work with HOC to make sure that redevelopment didn't mean displacement, and that longtime residents could stay in the neighborhood even as the area changes. Battery Lane is a good example of the kind of approach we need, not just in Bethesda, but across the county. We need to preserve what we have, and we need to build more housing that's accessible to working families, including people in education, healthcare, hospitality, and public safety. Those people would struggle to find a place to live in Bethesda today. We've got more projects in the pipeline focused on walkability, open space, and a mix of housing options. And while Bethesda gets a lot of attention, I want to acknowledge that Rockville and Germantown were also named among the top 250 places to live. Montgomery County continues to be recognized as one of the most diverse and livable places in the U.S. And that reflects the hard work of our residents and businesses. I think it's important for us to promote these accolades because they help drive economic development. Business owners and executives want to move and expand to communities where they want their own family to be and where they know that the families of their employees will want to live. Second, these accolades combat the negative narrative from a cabal of well-funded individuals, very often developers, but not all developers, who raise and spend millions of dollars creating a narrative that this county is in decline and that our best days are behind us for their own selfish political, economic reasons. You need to be aware of the game that's being played, because this is really about shifting infrastructure costs and taxes off of them and onto you. They're arguing that they need to pay less or we won't see development. In their plan, their tax bills goes down and yours go up. It's a pretty simple equation. What they don't pay, you have to pay, or else the schools and infrastructure that we need don't get built. It's not a good choice. I disagree with this premise, and clearly national publications disagree with it as well. And if you use your eyes as you're driving around the county, you'll see plenty of cranes and economic activity occurring. We do not have to sell out county residents in order to continue to grow our economy. So despite this nice acknowledgement for Bethesda, we can't afford to coast. Coasting will not get us where we need to go. We need to keep working to make sure that this county is affordable, connected, and inclusive. That's why we put so much work into affordable housing solutions around the county and development deals like the one announced last week around the North Bethesda metro station. These are signs that we're not just growing, but we're growing in the right way. Ever since I sort of recovered from my illness, I'm not completely there yet, I've been busy. I want to highlight some of the several events I attended over the last week. Healthcare was at the forefront of an annual event on Saturday in Germantown, put on by the African American Health Partnership. AAHP Community Day is in the 11th year, helping our community understand how to prevent chronic illness and manage good health. This year's theme, Take Control of Your Health and Wellness, Prioritize You and Be Empowered. They were our community partners on hand to deliver information and provide steps the community can take in response to high blood pressure, elevated sugar levels, early heart disease, and more. If you think this information can help you, you can visit aahpmontgomerycounty.org. On Sunday, many people came out for the Invent the Future event at the Kid Museum in Bethesda. I was able to meet with a few of the judges who got an up-close look at the wonderful student projects that show off their STEM skills in our region. I'm encouraged by the corporate and civic engagement in programs like this and believe it will help us better prepare our students for tomorrow's workforce, whether they go to college or not. Also on Sunday, many in the Long Branch community celebrated the unveiling of the new canopy outside the library that will offer a better outdoor gathering place for community groups and activities. I want to thank our Maryland delegation for recognizing the need and providing the funding for the canopy. The public also deserves a lot of credit for identifying a need in the community and working with local and state partners to see the project to completion. We're here to serve you, but we need your cooperation to help us understand the needs in each of our communities here. Across Montgomery County, you can always find something to do, from the Taste of Wheaton to the Farm Bureau picnic, which I also got to be part of last weekend. Please use resources like visitmontgomery.com to find out what's going on throughout our area that you may be able to enjoy it. That's a wrap for today. I hope you find something fun to do and have a great weekend. And I'll be back again next week.